I just left the airport, Louis Duffel Air Force. I ain't wanna do it to them, this is what they asked for. Niggas hate regardless, I should probably brag more. I be buying Louis, wearing Louis in the Yam store. This bag ain't for fashion though, please don't get irrational. I put her in new Chanel, you put her in fashionable. I stay in the W, you stay in the Novotel. Wonder why she dubbing you, around me can't control herself. This is what I pray for, so many nights inside herself.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. My name is East Brave, and welcome back to your most trusted source for podcast reviews. On this journey, we explore millions of podcasts available across all streaming platforms, providing you with our honest takes and in-depth reviews. I also like to express my gratitude for your continued support. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and most importantly, share our videos to help grow our community and channel. Lastly, if there is a podcast that you are currently listening to that isn't on my radar, feel free to reach out, put me on. I'll be sure to feature it in a future episode. As per usual, before we begin, I would like to provide a brief disclaimer. As an independent journalist and an avid podcast enthusiast, rather than a professional journalist or an expert in the field, I have compiled the information presented in today's episode from publicly available sources and online resources. We strive to eliminate any misinformation by relying on credible sources and reputable websites. If you encounter any inaccuracy or miscommunication, please do not hesitate to provide feedback by leaving it in the comments. And with that, let's cut the intro and get into today's episode. Welcome to today's episode. We're breaking down one of the freshest podcasts on the block, Just A Little Shady. Now, if you haven't heard of it yet, let me set the stage. Hosted by dynamic duo Hailie Jade and Britney Ednie, best friends since second grade, bonding over snack time and side-by-side desk. Their chemistry is undeniable. From childhood companions to podcast partners, these two have transformed a lifetime of friendship into a show that equal parts hilarious and insightful. Let's dive in. The name Just a Little Shady is genius. It's a playful nod to Hailie's dad, Eminem. Yep, you guessed it, Slim Shady himself. But the podcast quickly proves it's so much more than a celebrity connection. Sure, some might tune in because of that famous name, but stick around and you'll be hooked by the content alone. With only 25 episodes so far, they've already started making waves in the podcast scene. Now, the podcast is ad free, but they offer bonus episode exclusively to paid subscription members. Here's what you can expect from each episode. From pulp culture hot takes and the juiciest celebrity drama to sport talks, Hailie is a huge football fan along with her father, so you guessed it, those conversations are lit. The show has it all. And of course, there's the signature segments, wild, shady listener stories. Imagine your best friend dishing out the craziest, most pettiest confession stories that make you laugh, gasp, and sometimes even question reality. This podcast has a personal touch. Even though Hailie is Eminem's daughter, she's carving out her own space in the podcast world. While she learns from her dad's legendary discretion, no intrusive interviews or over-the-top celebrity drama, she still gives us just enough personal insight to feel like we are part of the conversation without oversharing. Here's why this podcast stands out. It's easy listening at its finest. The show feels like you're eavesdropping on the most unfiltered, laugh out loud brunch conversation ever. It's not overproduced or clickbaity, it's real, it's raw, and refreshingly relatable. Now, the question here is who should listen to this podcast? If you're all about celebrity gossip and pop culture news without the usual nonsense, this is your jam. It's for anyone who loves a casual hangout vibe, one that mixes humor with genuine moments and even throw in a dash of thoughtful commentary. And let's be honest, I've been waiting for the perfect moment to share this review. And that moment is right now. I'm here because I genuinely love this podcast. I've listened to every episode since their first drop on July the 22nd, 2022, and I have been here from day one like a proud podcast parent. Whether it's the spicy pop culture drama, the sports banter, or those utterly insane listener confessions, it's a wild ride you won't want to miss. Before we get into the review, let's take a moment to explore the backgrounds of Hailie Jade and Britney Ednie, their lives, education, careers, and the milestones that have shaped them. Let's start with Hailie Jade Scott Mathers. Born on December 25th, 1985, in Detroit, Michigan, she is the daughter of a rap icon Eminem and Kim Scott. She grew up alongside her siblings, including Elena Marie Mathers, Stevie Lane, and Parker Scott. Notably, Elena was adopted by Eminem following the passing of her biological mother. Eminem also adopted Kim's son, Stevie Lane Scott, from a previous relationship. While Hailie Jade has always been a known figure due to her father's legacy, she has carved out her own path as a successful social media influencer, focusing on fashion, cosmetic, and beauty. With an impressive 3.9 million followers on Instagram and 2.5 million on TikTok, she has established herself as a force in the digital space. Academically, she has excelled as well, graduated from Michigan State University with a psychology degree and an outstanding 3.9 GPA. Currently, Hailie Jade is making waves in the podcasting world, bringing fresh, engaging content to her audience. Beyond her career, her personal life has been equally fulfilling. She and her husband, Evan McClintock, I do apologize if I butchered your last name. I'm never good with last name. It's my kryptonite. They announced their engagement in February 2023 and tied the knot in May 2024 after 8 years of being together. Now they are preparing for the next chapter, welcoming their first child, Elliot Marshall McClintock. Born on March the 14th, 2025, Hailie took a moment to share a baby picture on Instagram, giving us a glimpse into her personal life on April the 4th, 2025. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the significance of this. Eminem, a multi Grammy winning artist and arguably one of the greatest rapper of all time, has achieved countless milestones in his career, but nothing compares to this. Living long enough to see his grandchild, in the end, this family, legacy, and love stand as the ultimate achievement. Congratulations to the Mathers family on this incredible moment. All right, let's quickly dive into Britney Ednie. Britney Ednie is the co-host of Just a Little Shady podcast, along with her childhood best friend, Hailie Jade Scott. The two have been inseparable since second grade, when they first met and bonded over sharing experiences, including joining Hailie's father, Eminem, on tour. Professionally, Britney has been associated with Rocket Companies, a Detroit based company where she has taken on roles involving hosting events and engaging with interns. She has also been involved in initiatives like Rock Health Collective, a health and well being center for Rocket Companies team members. Regarding her education background, specific details about Britney's date of birth, place of birth, and college education are not publicly available at this time. She maintains a relatively private personal life, with most public information focused on her professional endeavors and role in the podcast. However, if you want to learn more about her, go ahead and follow her on Instagram. Happy stalking. She currently has 11.6K loyal fans. Now, let's get into the good, the bad, and the interesting thing about this podcast. Let's start with all that good jazz. Now, I think we all can agree that the obvious first thing that we all like about Just a Little Shady is the chemistry between Hailie and Britney. It's a chef's kiss. These two have been besties since grade school, and you can feel it in every episode. They bounce off of each other effortlessly. It's like listening to two people who know exactly when to joke, when to pause, and when to tag each other like a podcasting WWE duo. It's smooth, it's natural, and it makes every conversation feel like you're just chilling with a friend who somehow always have a good story to tell. Speaking of stories, they deliver. Whether they are sharing personal stories or reacting to wild listener submissions, and trust me, some of these are absolute madness. There is this relatable undertone to it all. Even when the stories are crazy, it never feels forced or performative. It's just fun, like genuinely fun. Here's something I appreciate as a critic: this podcast doesn't ask a lot of you. You ever stumble into a podcast so packed with deep dives, inspirational monologues, or important conversations that your brain starts buffering mid episode? Like you need a nap, a journal, or maybe a therapist just to keep up. Yeah, this ain't that. This show is light, it's chill, it doesn't demand emotional labor or deep concentration. You can literally throw this on while you're commuting, washing dishes, pretending to work, whatever. It keeps you entertained without making you feel like you're mentally sprinting. And that is an art. Trust me. So, yeah, that is the first big win for me: the chemistry, the vibe, and the fact that it's just plain easy to enjoy. All right, so in one episode, they dive into mental health, but not in a heavy clinical way. It's super refreshing how they break it down. They touch on generational gap, what was once considered normal or acceptable, and how far we've come with information, education, and just to talk about mental health without feeling shame. You can really tell how much advanced and accepted it is now, especially with all the tech, the resources we have radically available today compared to the previous generation, which is astonishing. Another notable thing I like about this podcast is how effortlessly they balance humor with depth. They'll have you laughing 1 minute, then suddenly hit you with a moment that really makes you sit and reflect. In this specific episode, they brought up the Queen's recent passing. She was 96. I mean, 96 years old. Just imagine, living through almost a full century of change, watching the world evolve from rotary phones to AI, from handwritten letters to TikTok arguments, social norms flip, tech exploded, and she witnessed it all. It reminds me of that movie Eternals, where the gods watch over humanity for centuries. They see all the conflicts, the growth, the chaos, but they don't intervene. They just carry the weight of it all. That's the kind of perspective that hits different. So yeah, this podcast isn't just all laughs and good times. Though trust me, they are hilarious, but they also know when to slow it down, be real, and to talk about tough stuff in a way that actually digestible. It's one of those shows that makes you think and makes you laugh, and honestly, that combo, it's kind of rare. Another thing I really love about this podcast is how it reminds me not to take life too seriously. Sometimes Hailie and Britney just dive into pure nonsense. And the next thing you know, they're cracking up. And honestly, Their laughter is contagious. You can't help but to laugh along with them. I can't even count how many times I've been sitting there, listening with my earbuds in, cracking up so loud that the people around me starts asking, "What's so funny?" It is a perfect reminder. Life is way shorter than we think. So why not laugh often, smile more, and just enjoy the ride? And look, I'm not a fan of that you only live once saying. Nah, we actually live every day. However, we do have one life to live, so it's best we live it fully. Now, the final thing I absolutely love about this podcast is the shady stories. We cannot deny that this is the best segment in every single episode. And let me tell you, these submissions are next level. We're talking shady, vile, jaw dropping, and sometimes so hilarious. You might just end up in the ER from laughing so hard. So, seriously, watch your gut because it might just fall the out. One of my favorite episodes, oh, it's just got to be one where two roommates were living together, but one of them was doing some weird, uncivilized stuff. Stuff that should not happen when you're sharing a living space. So, what does the other roommate do? Pee in the other person's body spray. Yeah. Yeah, you heard me right. I'm sitting there listening, dying of laughter. Then Brittany hits me with the real question: how did they even get the pee in the body spray? Did they use a funnel? Man, I completely lost it. I mean, how do you think of that? Like, that's just vile, fam. Oh, man. It's a good one, though. That's my favorite shady story. But wait, there's more. You know, they did a spooky season special and a Valentine's Day special. Now, the submissions were even crazier. People sent in their craziest, scariest, most terrifying experiences. And I'm telling you, Hailie and Britney have their own creepy stories. So they are definitely believers of the paranormal. It was a perfect blend of spooky and shady. And of course, because it's just a little shady, there was at least one shady story that was included to keep the vibe alive. Now, after spooky season was a wrap, the story and segments returned to its usual wild self. And honestly, I was here for it. Now, I guess just to end things here, they actually do have other segments. It's not just a little shady. Um, so they have like a quickly recap, and that recap is could be about their personal life or what's going on with pop culture and gossips and things of that nature. There's the shady stories and what the f's is another segment, and yeah, so there's pretty much like four segments, um, which is pretty much makes up each episode. All right, let's get into the bad and the interesting thing about this podcast. I actually don't have anything negative to say about this podcast. And no, it's not because I'm scared that Slim Shady would ja rule me into oblivion. Although this podcast does not have all the fancy bells and whistles, like crazy production and things of that nature. Um, just a Little Shady has received mostly positive feedback from listeners, actually. Reviews on platforms like Apple Podcasts and Pod Paradise highlights its enjoyability and relatable content. Many fans appreciate the casual and engaging conversations, with one listener describing it as so much fun and refreshing to listen to, while another called it the best podcast for the new age generation in 2024. This is one of those podcasts that you just throw on washing dishes or cleaning up the house, you're commuting to work or you're at work and you don't want to think. You just want to listen to something fun and just like forget about whatever. However, while the majority of the feedback is favorable, there are some mixed opinions. A few listeners have given more neutral ratings, like one who rated it 3 out of 5 stars and simply commented, "Show's cool." These critics are rare, but they suggest that just a little shady resonates with many. It may not be for everyone. All right, let's get into the verdict. This is what everyone came to see. So hear me. Hear me now.
Order in the court.
You'll never get your fucking money back. No, I'm just kidding. That's from Dave Chappelle.
Oh my god.
Overall, I think that this is a great podcast. Um, I do feel that it does have the potential to be a leading contender. Now, I'm not really sure what category this podcast would fall under, but I do believe that whatever it is, and as long as these girls stay consistent, it definitely does have a potential to be a leading contender in the podcasting space. Now, I think that the only problem that this podcast is going to suffer for a little while is because Haley just had her baby. And, when you first have that first child, it really takes up a lot of your time. If you're a parent, then you would know. And if you're not, you will eventually know over time. Actively, right now, we haven't received any new episodes. We haven't heard any news when the next episode will drop. So we're just going to have to sit around and just wait a bit. I give this podcast a 10 out of 10. I mean, hands down. All right, so let's close today's episode. This is what everyone came to see. You either genuinely love podcasts and recognize the unique space I'm filling, since podcast reviews are rare, or you are here for the closing segments because you enjoy thought provoking ideas that challenge your perspective. Either way, if nothing else, let's get into it. There are days when the weight of awareness feels unbearable, when knowing too much, seeing too deeply becomes a curse rather than a gift. To understand the world beyond its surface, to sense the quiet tragedies woven into ordinary lives, to recognize the suffering that others walk past without a second thought. It is both enlightening and exhausting. I sometimes envy those who live unburdened by reflection, whose thoughts do not stretch beyond the moment, who can witness hardship and reduce it to simple misfortunes rather than an echo of choices, systems, and stories untold. What would it like to be to move through life without the constant undercurrent of understanding, without the relentless pull of contemplation? But wisdom does not grant peace, nor does it guarantee happiness. It only deepens the well from which both sorrow and meanings are drawn. And yet, despite it all, I cannot unknow, cannot unsee. Perhaps the burden is not knowing too much, but in struggling to find where such knowledge belongs in the world that so often turns away. And as I sit here reflecting on Hailie Jade's journey, one shaped by her highs and lows of her parents' turbulent past, let's not pretend Eminem and Kim's entire relationship has always been under a microscope and in the spotlight. So, those who are Eminem fans will know. I can't help but think about the weight so many people carry when it comes to love, marriage, and the fear of falling behind. I mean, her parents had it all, right? Fame, success, wealth, and yet none of it was enough to keep their home intact. Now, as Haley starts her own family, I see so many of my own friends in their 30s feeling that same pressure. They build careers, travel, live full lives, but because they haven't settled down, they feel like they are losing some invisible race. I know that feeling well. I was in my 20s when I watched my friends get married and have kids and build their lives that they were supposed to. And boy, was that time different than it is today. I felt that way too. But now, 15 years later, I stand on the other side, divorced, looking back with a different perspective. So before you rush, before you let that pressure dictate your choices, hear me out. Because I've been where you are, and what I've learned might just change the way you see everything. In the end, we are nothing but dust. The only thing that remains is our bloodline. I have walked through the storm, faced the terror, and weathered it all to gain the wisdom I now hold. So, this is my gift to you. Long after I'm gone, my channel and the internet will remain. This is my legacy, a collection of thoughts, insights, and hard earned truths. For those who seek, for those who need something to draw strength from, I hope my words serve as a guide in your darkness. I'm calling this closing segment The One, the weight, and the weight of it all. I know people who feel the weight of time pressing down on them, measuring their lives against invisible milestones. The pressure intensifies with every engagement announcement, every curated post of love and companionship flooding their feeds. Social media distorts love into a competition, one where falling behind feels like failure. But the truth? Most people searching for love haven't found peace within themselves. And without that foundation, love, real love, feels forced, it stumbles, it strains, it becomes an obligation rather than a natural current. Years ago, I emerged from a 5 year relationship, and instead of seeking another, I just vanished. Not just from dating, but literally from everything. Changed my number, moved, cut ties with people who meant the world to me at the time. People actually thought I left the city. In reality, I was right here, just unreachable. One thing about me is if I don't want to be found, you will never find me. But in that isolation, something unexpected happened. I met someone I had overlooked for years, myself. It took me 5 years to find peace, the kind that isn't dressed up in distraction, new cities, or fleeting experiences. I'm talking about real peace. The kind you earn by facing yourself in absolute silence. It's actually the hardest work a person can do. The great poet Rumi once wrote, "If I am not with myself, I become the loneliest one. Who is with me? If I become myself, more lost than I have ever been." That's deep. I'm sure that went over someone's head already. I remember the exact moment peace settled in me. I was actually traveling for work at the time. Uh, I was standing at the edge of Niagara Falls, and it was my first time there. The sun warm on my skin, mist rising like breath from the earth. The roar of water filled the space around me, but inside, I was uh, I was quiet. I closed my eyes, exhaled, and I whispered to myself, "I'm happy alone. I do not need anyone." A week later, I met my ex-wife, and as we all know it, the rest was history. If you are searching for love and coming up empty, my advice is simple: stop looking. Find peace first. Solitude is not loneliness, it's actually a proving ground. Date yourself. Learn who you are when no one is watching. Because love, the kind that lasts, requires internal stability. Without it, marriage and family won't just challenge you, they will unravel you. Or worse, you'll unravel someone else. Love doesn't respond to desperation, it isn't drawn to searching hands. It actually comes when you are steady, when your present isn't seeking but simply is. Your frequency determines what you attract. So, if you are restless, you will find restlessness. If you are whole, love will recognize you. Everyone chases fleeting moments of joy, as if happiness is a final destination, somewhere you arrive and stay. But it never works that way. I mean, if it did, wouldn't we say rest in happiness instead of rest in peace? Think about that for a minute. Peace is what we wish for the dead. Yet so many live their entire lives without it. Some only find it on their deathbeds, while others leave this world with the weight of regret, realizing too late that they spent their entire lives chasing emotions that were never meant to last. Happiness is an experience, not a possession. And yet, people waste their entire days reaching for something that slips through their fingers the moment they grasp it. Maybe the real question isn't how to find happiness, but why we've been conditioned to think it's the goal in the first place. I gave this advice to a friend I've known for 20 years. His parents once pulled me aside, worried he'd never settle down. I told them, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, huh?" Today, he's married, two kids, a house, the whole 9 yards. Another friend followed the same path. He is now engaged, preparing to fly to the Philippines for his wedding. So, this is my offering to you. Learn from my mistake. As you likely already know, I'm recently divorced. Marriage and family are not just commitments, they are acts of devotion. They require selflessness, resilience, and unshakable center. If you are not careful, they will drain your peace. And if you are not intentional, they will consume your love. But if you tend to them wisely, they can be the deepest and rewarding aspect of your life. Before you search for love, find peace. Because love, the real thing, doesn't come from searching, it comes from being ready. Years ago, my best friend taught me something. Over time, I refined it, shaped it into something sharper, something that lingers. Here it is. There are three kinds of people who come walking into your life. So let me give you that framework. The first arrives like a storm. They cut you down, break you apart, and leave you in ruins. When they go, you are left alone in the wreckage, forced to sift through what remains. This is where your self discovery begins. Now, the second comes as a guide. They inspire you, they challenge you, and equip you with the tools you never knew you needed. They shape your path, they quietly slip away and not meant to stay, but leaving behind echoes of their presence. You'll always remember these people. And lastly, the last person who walk into your life will stay a lifetime. Now that you understand these three types of people who walk into your life, I hope you make better decisions in choosing the right partner. Marriage and family life are not just for the weak. Pairing with the wrong person can turn your life into a slow unraveling. Life is shorter than most realize, and longevity in love isn't just about romance. It's about reducing the stress that erodes us from the inside out. So, in closing, we spend our lives searching, chasing love, happiness, meaning. But what if the pursuit itself blinds us to what we truly need? What if happiness was never meant to be the destination, but simply a moment passing through us like the wind? If happiness were the goal, we would say rest in happiness instead of rest in peace. Think about that again. Even in death, peace is the final wish. Yet so many live their entire lives without it, lost in the illusion that happiness is something to capture and keep. We build, we break, we search, we lose. We convince ourselves that love will fill the void, that success will silence the doubt, that time will answer the question. But nothing external ever does, because peace isn't found in the next achievement, the next person, or the next thrill. It's found in stillness, in knowing yourself so deeply that the world no longer shakes you. Before you seek love, seek peace. Because love, real love, recognizes wholeness. It does not come to complete, but come to complement. It does not heal wounds you refuse to confront. It is not a bandage for emptiness. So as you move forward, ask yourself, are you running towards something real, or are you running from yourself? Find peace first. Let everything else find you. And with that, that wraps today's episode. Stay blessed, stay steady, and may you find peace, not just in the end, but in the life you live. Until next time, over and out. Bow.